If you'd like to purchase Magic Online cards at competitive prices, check out our web store at mtgoacademy.com/store.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to draft. Crewfix God of Horizons is a sweet card, but I'm afraid it's not a good limited card. So that leaves me with Fleetfeather Cockatrice as an insane uncommon, which is in the same colors as Crewfix. So I might be sending bad signals if people decide that they want to pick up the mythic rare. Is there anything that's better than a flash flying death touch creature with monstrosity though? I don't think so. There's Supply Line Cranes, there's Nyx Infusion, but I'm going to take the uncommon here. I've talked a lot about the fact that uncommons do commit, the gold uncommon cycle of Theros or Born of the Gods commits you to 2 colors straight up. But Fleetfeather Cockatrice is a card that I will make an exception for. It's just super powerful when you look at what kind of package you're getting there. Alright, it doesn't mean that I'm forced to draft a blue-green, though I can still decide freely what I want here, and then if things end up working out, I will have the Fleetfeather Cockatrice, but if not, then it's not the end of the world. Twin Flame, I don't really like, that's just a token creator. Kira's Dismissal I think is pretty weak, and Chariot of Victory is a weird card. Sometimes it's really, really good, sometimes it's almost unplayable, and in general, equipments are not where you want to be in the format, so I'll probably not take that. Cloaked Siren is a solid blue common, the green cards are unexciting, and the same goes for white, so the only commons that I'm really considering are Grim Guardian and Cloaked Siren. Now, with a Flash Flyer already and a blue card, I think that Cloaked Siren should be the pick here. It is comparable to Grim Guardian in power level, maybe a bit weaker because you can just draft your deck around Grim Guardian, whereas Cloaked Siren is just solid. But the fact that I started with a blue-green card makes me go with the blue card here. Alright, there's a Sigil Starfish, so I'm most likely just taking that. I think it's one of the best commons in the set, and I'm in blue already. So let's look at the alternatives real quick. A Crone Mastiff, Starfall, Squelching Leeches, and Storm Chaser Chimera. None of these are particularly interesting. I think that a Crone Mastiff is fine. Might actually be better than Supply Line Cranes, or at least more important in certain decks if you aren't too aggressive. Starfall is just like Rage of Perforus, not very exciting. It is an instant, but still. And then, well, Squelching Leech is not after this start, and also not that early on in the draft. You just want to get rewarded if you are heavily black anyway. And Storm Chaser Chimera, it's playable, but it's a lot weaker than, for example, Fleetfeather Cockatrice. I'm taking the Starfish here. It's a great defender and a great way to generate value at very little cost. Oh, this looks like a pretty sweet black pack. Pharika's Chosen and Spiteful Blow are both pretty nice, and the other cards have weaker options in Oreska Swiftclaw and Ravenous Lucrocota. If I knew that I was gonna end up in blue-green, then I would definitely have to pick the Lucrocota here. That's not a given though, so I could still move into blue-black, for example, by picking up Pharika's Chosen, which I think is a bit better than Spiteful Blow. Spiteful Blow is pretty strong, however. Yeah, I think the pick is between one of these 3 cards, and the Lucrocota has the advantage that it keeps the dream of casting a Fleetfeather Cockatrice alive. I think the power level is similar. I like the Chosen a little bit better, but I'm gonna pick the green card here. Alright, it looks like black is open after all, so that might be a problem later on. However, people are passing a Golden Hind, and that's pretty much the best green common. Maybe with competition from O-Card Dryads, but it's definitely the best thing to do on turn 2 when you are green. Nightmarish End is solid. Everything else is okay. I'm picking Golden Hind and taking that as a signal that I'm actually fine in blue-green here. Extinguish All Hope is a card I don't really like because of its symmetry, and that basically leaves the decision between Basara Tower Archer, something went wrong with the picture there, and the Cloaked Siren, which you can really not have too many of, especially nice if I have so many flash cards, then my instants are just going to be so much better. I'm just picking another Cloaked Siren here. Renowned Weaver is not exciting at all, and I can't really use any of the other cards. Okay, Jakra Mystic is only so-so. Countermand does get better now that I have so many flash cards, but it's still one of the weaker counter spells in the set. Now the Decran Mystic, I don't know, it somehow doesn't really work for me. It's basically very unimpressive on its own, and it's kind of difficult to generate value by giving your opponents extra cards, so you never really feel like you're accomplishing much with the Mystic. The question is if I really have an alternative pick here, because Countermand is just really bad. Triton Shorestalker is not a card I want, and Desecration Plague just doesn't seem powerful enough. I'm taking the Mystic here, but I'm not happy about it. Another Grim Guardian. I think I'm heavily tending towards drafting green though. So I'm looking at Nature's Panoply and Ferrisban's Thunderhoof. I already have quite a lot of creatures and I have no waste of pumping them or no tricks. So I'm gonna pick the instant, and because heroic creatures are not what I want right now, and if I don't pick up the combat tricks, then I also won't need any heroic creatures after all. So I think that was a pretty easy pick. Godhunter Octopus is unexciting, so I might just take Nyx Infusion here as a hate draft. Yeah, I don't care for the other cards very much. Curious Dismissal wheeled here, as did Market Festival. Market Festival is not exciting though. Curious Dismissal does have some applications, although I think that it's quite overrated. It's not a card that I'm usually happy to cast. Here Market Festival is probably the right time to take it. I'm going to pass the black cards because I want somebody else to pick up on that. And yeah, I'm actually going to take a Desecration Plague. I think Market Festival only works in very specific decks, which I'm not really wanting to go into. And Desecration Plague is a way to deal with enchantments, should that become an issue later on. Here I really like Deserter's Quarters more than Crufix's Insight. Deserter's Quarters solves the problem that blue-green can't deal with opposing creatures very well, whereas Crufix's Insight just gets me a little bit of value, which isn't what this deck should be about. I'm not hiding the Nyx Infusion because it is a removal spell, but also because it shows that I don't have any 3-drops yet. And an island to round things up. So, not counting the Nyx Infusion, and most of these 1-drops are pretty unexciting. I still got quite a few sweet cards here. Fleet Feather Cockatrice and 3 very solid 4-drops, so I'm quite happy where I am. Herald of Torment not in my colors. Vortex Elemental is fine. Curse of the Tides is also nice, but something that I'm not too interested in it with 2 Cloaked Sirens already. So I think I should be picking up a 2-drop here. Deepwater Hypnotist is fine, and Swordwise Centaur is a bit better. It does cost double green, but it's certainly worth the extra investment. Vortex Elemental would also be fine, kind of like a Sage Scorpion replacement if I want to make sure that I can win the game in the air. But I think that Swordwise Centaur is a bit stronger because it's just more aggressive on its own. Wow, Flamewreathed Phoenix getting passed to me. Archetype of Imagination, Sudden Storm, and Retraction Helix in blue. All a lot better than the green alternatives, I would say. I don't think that Retraction Helix does a lot for my deck right now. I could see picking Archetype of Imagination, which is pretty nice in green, in conjunction with green, or just the Sudden Storm because it's going to be my best tempo play. I think that Sudden Storm should be the pick here. I don't feel that Retraction Helix is going to be particularly good if I don't want to run the cheap creatures and I want to be attacking with the others. I guess it's fine with the Starfish, but I really like the Sudden Storm better here. And Archetype of Imagination is just a bit too expensive, I'm afraid. Alright, more good blue cards, but most of them quite expensive. Fated Infatuation and Sphinx's Disciple are alright. I think that I'm going to pick the Vortex Elemental though. Not the best synergy with the double green of Swordwise Centaur, but a solution to anything my opponents do early on. And I'm getting another Sudden Storm that actually makes them even better. I will have 3 flying creatures with flash, which means that I will always be holding up my mana, and then I can decide what I want to be doing, and that's why I like the Sudden Storms in this deck. Retraction Helix, Curious Follower, and Perplexing Chimera. The Chimera is not an option, and Retraction Helix and Curious Follower are quite close in power level. I would love to have a Helix with a Follower, but here I'm actually going for the Follower itself. because I have Sigil Starfish and a lot of 4-drops already. That makes the follower better than the bounce spell here. And two pretty powerful red cards still in the pack. A Chrome Conscriptor and Satanic Smith are both really powerful. Definitely more powerful than Mind Reaver, which is not really a good card at all. So I think I'm going to take one of these, just to not be forced to play against them. If I had to guess, I think that Satanic Smith is a card that I could theoretically splash. It's not likely, or well, it's not really happening because it's only really good on turn 3, and then the splash wouldn't really work out. I'm going to take a Chrome Conscriptor, which is also the more scary card to play against. Wow, Deep Water Hypnotist, Solar Center, and Kiora's Follower. I'm just taking another follower. I'm feeling really good in blue-green here. Divination, Stratus Walk, or Karametra's Favor. My deck is not really a deck that wants to enchant creatures so much, so I'm going to take Divination to generate some card advantage and to also allow me to play as many mana producers as I want. Sky Reaping I won't be playing, but it's good against me, and I'm not going to hate draft cards from other colors at this stage in the game. Pillar of War is interesting. I'm not really as an attacker, but more as a blocker. The alternative is Satyr Wayfinder, which is really unexciting. I'm just going to take the Pillar. I could board it in against Intimidate guys, or just main deck it. And that's a very late Fated Infiltration, which is definitely playable. Here I'm sticking to picking cards that I theoretically could play rather than hate drafting something. Especially when there's 2 red cards still in the pack that are both, 2 black cards still in the pack that are still quite good. And Claim of Erebos to round things out. Alright, 2 great packs for me so far. Feeling really good about what I have so far. I could untap this with Kiora's Follower, which is kind of a nice trick sometimes, but I might not be forced to play this at all, because my deck will just win by sudden storming and winning in the air. And the final pack, Steam Augury as the rare. It does start with Nimbus Naiad and Griptide as the 2 options for me. I do like Griptide a bunch, but I have 2 Sudden Storms already. And Nimbus Naiad is a 3-drop and a 5-drop, both of which I don't really have right now. I also think that it's just a tad more powerful than Griptide. I would love to have another bounce spell in this deck, but I'm picking the Bestow Creature first and foremost. Here it's Sealock Monster, Staunch-Hearted Warrior, or Time to Feed, with the Staunch-Hearted Warrior being another 4-drop, so that is pretty much out, and also I don't have the ways to target it really. So what do I want here? Time to Feed looks quite interesting because it's a removal spell that I don't have otherwise, and I wouldn't mind the Sealock Monster as another 5-drop in a deck with a lot of mana acceleration. This is really close because I feel that if I pick the Sealock Monster, then I won't be getting any Time to Feeds, and I will need to win with my other cards. However, I think that's actually doable. With Fated Infiltration and 2 Sudden Storms, Time to Feed might not be necessary. I'll take the monster here. And these cards are all unexciting except for Sedge Scorpion, which I'm always happy to run. And yeah, that's, I think, a pretty clear pick. Another Sedge Scorpion, but there's also a Nessian Asp in the pack. I'm definitely taking that. Agent of Horizons is fine. Sedge Scorpion is great, but Nessian Asp is just greater. Wow, I don't really know what to take here. There's an Ordeal of Nylea, and also another Sedge Scorpion, which I have one already of. So, do I want to go the Ordeal direction, or am I happy picking up another defensive Death Touch creature? I really think that the Ordeals are still the best thing that you can do in the format. So I feel that that should be the pick rather than the conservative Sedge Scorpion. You have to win your game somehow, and Ordeals are one of the best ways of doing it. So are Bestow Creatures, so I'm definitely taking Leaf Crown Dryad here. Also working really nicely with the mana acceleration. And Anthausa, Citizen Hero, I think that will actually make my deck pretty easily. With so much mana acceleration, even if I can't really trigger it too often, it's going to be pretty sweet. And here I like a Null for the sideboard. Seems more important than Nylea's Presence or Ferris Band Centaurs. I could theoretically main deck it, but I don't really see that happening. Let's take the rare here. Nalia's Presence. Alright. And here it's between Ephraim's Warden and Vanquish the Foul, not for my deck, but because I don't want to play against them. And Vanquish the Foul, I think, has actually gotten a bit better, so I should maybe take that out. There's 3 white cards in the pack, so I could also take Coastline Chimera and leave the hate drafting to somebody else. Yeah, that makes more sense. Don't know that if I will play it, most likely not, but it's the more solid pick for me. Lost in the Labyrinth, however, is not a card that I will be playing, so I'm gonna pick Psychic Intrusion instead. Scorchmark is somewhat playable, and a bunch of cards coming around, so I'm ready for deck building now. Shouldn't have a problem at all with the amount of playables, and even Fated Infiltration is looking pretty strong with 2 Kiara's followers that do allow me to get double blue if needed. Gonna have to see what I want to main deck with this draft here. Let's see, some cards are pretty easy. The gold cards are of course pretty amazing, and then I still have a lot of cuts that I can make. I really like the trick I picked up. I think that was an important pickup. I don't think that I should be running Desecration Plague, although it might actually be correct with no other ways to deal with enchantments in my deck. Even picked up an Alias Presence. I don't think that's good enough for the main deck though. I don't like Dakra Mystic and I don't like Renowned Weaver. That puts me at 16 creatures and still a Null and Kiara's Dismissal here. That's probably not smart. Kiara's Dismissal works better with the 2 Sudden Storms that I have. So given the fact that I don't have a disenchant effect, I'm just going to run the Dismissal for the off chance that I'm going to bounce 2 or 3 enchantments with it, and because I don't have a card like Voyage's End, Hubris or Griptide. Yeah, I think this deck looks phenomenal. Don't have too many ways to target Enthausa, but other than that I should be doing really well. Not sure if I actually want more islands than forests. I want a forest pretty much always because I have the double green Soulwise Centaur and also the Golden Hind, whereas I can't cast my Kiara's Follower anyway if I don't have a forest. Blue, on the other hand, is not unimportant, but maybe a little less so. Yeah, it does make the Fated Infatuation a bit worse, but I think I'm running one more forest with this deck. And Magic Online completely disagrees, of course, but that's fine with me.